Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everybody. As you can tell, I'm in a different location. I'm at my dad's house in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's kind of a unique feel for me today because I'm doing this on my laptop and I've got one screen versus my usual. I still only have one screen at home, but it's bigger, and I can have everything off to the side. But Omar is also on the road. He'll be joining us later. And then I'm sure Stephanie will be through soon enough. And then Purcell is wherever Omar is. And let's see who was in the chat this morning. We had David, I remember. Yes. Hello. Robert William, hello. Good morning. Or good afternoon for you. And, or good evening, rather. And then Anders. Good evening. So what did everybody think about the Model S Plaid launch? We're going to launch into a discussion on that a little bit later, and I'm curious to see what everybody thinks about it. Let's see, let's clear this here. Perfect. And then sharing the screen will be interesting because it'll like overlap, but I got you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, I'm not sure what time Omar's going to come in, but I definitely wanted to talk about the Blue Origin rocket launches from PA. So Jeff Bezos and his brother are going to be the first two passengers on the Blue Origin. What do they call this thing? All I remember is the feather. The New Shepard, they call it, because the New Glenn's not done yet. And then they're auctioning off the third seat, and we're going to see who gets to ride with them. And one of the comedians brought up a good point and said, if he's so rich, why didn't he just buy all three seats? And I'm also curious why he didn't bring another family member along with him. But again, it might have to play into with why he didn't buy the third seat. But they always say that folks don't get rich by being extravagant spenders. So maybe that's just his thrifty nature involved there. But what's unique about this one with the New Shepard is it doesn't really go into orbit. It just kind of goes straight up and straight back down. It's a 3-minute flight. It reaches the edge of space, goes above the Kármán line, and I mean, it seems to be an expensive sightseeing mission. Oh, it is suborbital. Yeah, suborbital. Not sure it's all that. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, it'd be exciting for the passengers. I don't know if it's really all that exciting to watch because usually I do watch their webcasts just like I do the SpaceX ones, and you go from hours of waiting for the thing to be ready, fueling, checkouts, tests, and I guess they don't use super chill propellants because it gets to these points sometimes where it just stops at 25 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 minutes, and the countdown just sits there for quite a while, and then the countdown picks right back up. I do like the noises that rocket makes as it's doing the gimbling of the engine and all the different checks. It sounds like just like a monster. It's like growling and groaning and complaining. It's it's quite a thing to watch, and I'm sure that the SpaceX rockets do it too, but they don't seem to have any microphones down there when it's doing the checks. So, I mean, I'm gonna watch it, and the other thing that seems odd to me is the way that it does the landing. It comes down, deploys parachutes, and then right before it hits the ground, it has retro rockets or thrusters or something to that effect, and it just puts out a little puff, and then it hits the ground. And like, have they calibrated that correctly? And do they have to calibrate it per flight so that it's got, for the all the different science experiments and passengers? Last time they sent some insects up in space, or not space, up on the 3-minute flight to do a microgravity experiment. And I guess 3 minutes is all they needed to do their experiment, but I don't know what to think about this particular rocket. It doesn't seem particularly useful, just because, as David says, it's suborbital and it's not even like ballistic, so it doesn't go anywhere. It goes up and comes back down right about where it was. What up, High Voltage? Hope to see you in your car real soon. That Plaid event was, woo, man. I was excited to see about that Plaid event. Bezos is trying to force his way. Yes, exactly. That was the other thing. When you saw, who was it? Bernie Sanders and Rand Paul were on the same side of things. about the $10 billion loan to Bezos, and or not loan, gift, and somebody else explained it a little bit more clearly, and explained that it wasn't exactly just for Blue Origin. It would be for the entire program. So at that point, I wasn't as upset with it. But Musk even pointed out, he's like, how much is that going to cost you? When somebody was out there pointing out that they were going to go on the mission. And I mean, I was glad to see that SpaceX won it. It would be nice to see some competition on there, but there literally was no budget for the moon mission. And so they had to cut out all the extras, and SpaceX was the only one that they had any money for. And so to see the politicians kind of try and get their pet donors back in is interesting to watch them maneuver that. But it'll be even more exciting to see us go back to the moon and see what kind of science we can conduct. And I'm really curious to see something the size of Starship doing a moon mission. That's going to be exciting. Let's see. I thought I missed a chat. I'm sorry. So what all do you guys think about Bezos doing this? And I'm going to prep the next story here. Here we go. Okay, another one that came up with us this week is that Elon Musk says that Pure Vision version 9 full self-driving is coming in 2 to 3 weeks. So he didn't just say 2 weeks again, and and I don't know that it's actually going to be 2 or 3 weeks. I've given up holding my breath on this, and it's a good thing because I need oxygen. And I mean, I think it's going to be some level of exactly what they promised us, and I'm sure it'll be amazing, and I'm sure it'll be better than what we've seen in the full self-driving version 8.0, 8.1, whatever, 8.2 that we're on now, betas. But it's just interesting that we haven't seen anything further on it. But to that same end, I'm still testing out 2021.4.18.2. It's a 9-hour drive from home to here, and the car continued to do the thing that I noticed with the smoothing of its following distance. Also, 4, I keep it set to 4 to keep rocks from getting kicked at my car. 4 seems to be further than it used to be. I'm noticing a lot more people are trying to find their way and squeeze into my space, especially on the 2-lane sections of the road between here and there in South Carolina, where I'll find people are zooming up to pass me on the right and then squeezing in with, I mean, there's room for it to fit, but then that means I have to brake and slow down to build back up my stopping buffer. And the only time they didn't do it was when they couldn't see because of the rain. I could see because I got brand new wipers, that ginormous big sky window, and then of course I had the automaton helping me, and so that was nice. But it's really annoying when you're coming up on a slow truck, and what I want to do, which would probably get me a ticket, is when I see them coming up for the pass on the right, just exercising my P100D a little bit and just closing that gap so they can't do it. It would be so fun, but the problem with that is I'll end up with some numpty who's going to not actually do the look, and they're going to end up crashing into me, or somebody with a weapon wanted to take that as an affront to their actual person, which would be unfortunate because the car is made of aluminum, so it won't offer any protection. Yes, it does. I am so done with the waiting. It better be worth the wait. I'm also hoping that we start to see something with the robot snake chargers, because it's all well and good for the car to be able to drive itself, especially to the point where we can go hands off. But then when it gets to the waypoints, how is it going to do with all of us? Maybe not even being conscious when it arrives at the supercharger. Is it going to wait in line? Is it going to? The snake charger would solve all of this. So, because then it could just plug itself in. Did I hear about the test run into the tractor trailer? Said he was on full self-drive, but I don't believe so. I saw there was one guy who had a video of his Model 3, and the tractor trailer was partially in the right-hand lane, and he let it go way too long, and then the car almost collided with the semi-trailer or box truck rear end. I'm not sure which. And I don't know why anyone would try this, because and he has the full self-driving package, but he doesn't have the full self-driving software. At least it didn't appear to on his screen when he showed the video or picture, whatever was going on. I don't know why anyone would try to see what the car would do in that situation. It's proven that it can't handle that, and Tesla's never said that they did anything to address it, and it just doesn't. It's not a safe thing to try. We've seen so many people lose their lives or get injured or lose their car over objects partially in the right-hand lane in the U.S. and other right-hand drive countries, or partially in the left-hand lane in the right-hand drive countries. So it's not worth trying that, and I wouldn't. I also noticed that my car, I made a short addition to my 2020 for my deep dive video, and there was a truck trailer that the tire had exploded in front of me, and the debris was just sitting in the road. And then I grabbed the wheel to take over to steer around the chunks of what they call gatorback, and I didn't have to, because as I was going to make the motions, the car was making the same ones that I was about to make, and it did it the whole time, and it didn't miss anything as far as the major chunks that I was going to steer around. And at the very end, after it had done that maze maneuver, there was one little chunk of wire that I would have steered around, and I was like, well, it's had all these. It did not get the wire; it went right over it. But I've had videos in the past where I showed how it would avoid the base of a barrel cone, like just the black ring, and there was no barrel cone on top of it. It went around it. And another case where it was avoiding some plywood. I think those are most of the extent of the videos I have of it avoiding stuff, other than when we picked up the toy Cybertrucks from Target, where it went around a really deep puddle in the road. And there was another one on this trip where it went around I don't really want to call it a pothole. It was a chunk of the road was just missing, and it went around it. And I actually didn't see it till we were on it, and it had already moved over. And the only reason I saw it that way was I could feel it tug the wheel to the left a little bit. Same way it does when it's passing tractor trailers, and it gives them a little extra room where it hugs the other side of the lane. And that's what it did in all these cases. And what I expressed in that segment was I find it great that it can do these things, but when it's inconsistent, you don't ever know what it's going to do. And that keeps you on your toes, but it also makes it so you don't know whether it's time to take over or not unless it's going to make the same moves that you will. Like in the case of the tires in my lane, I couldn't make but one path, and the car chose that same path. I don't know if it's like, hey, that's non-drivable area, or because it'll run through regular potholes that aren't too deep. It'll run straight through them, and manhole covers and any number of items. It'll just run them over. So it's like, when do I trust that it knows what it's doing? That was just last Sunday when the bomb was dropped. I'm like, yes. Yes, I did write that in my list. Let me go to the list. The very first item it just says Plaid Plus canceled. And it happened like minutes after we ended our live stream. Elon's tweeting, he's like, Plaid Plus is canceled, it's not needed. And I was like, oh no, let me call High Voltage and see if they've reached out to him, what his thoughts are. And I mean, I get it, but it was unexpected. Let's see. Dan was talking about how a lady was up. Yes, it was, and I was like, it's like I'm not a parent, but it was like a proud teacher moment when you see that they just learned something, and then it's like, wow, it did that perfectly, and I like I said, it's awesome that it can do it, and it's exactly the way that they described it. But then the inconsistency is, yes, it keeps you on your toes, which is good for drivers paying attention. But at the same time, how late do you let it go? How well will it handle certain things? I always err on the side of caution for it's just going to destroy my car, so I'm going to make sure to avoid whatever I see. And then I know that, hey, it might have my back on something else. But back to the changes with the let's call it navigate on autopilot. It feels like the radar has been demoted because the feel of the car following other cars, other than the distance being slightly further away than it was previously, it feels smoother. Like people who seem to think that their brake and gas are light switches and they just on and off 100%. They don't, like if you're in autopilot and it's doing this because they're bad drivers. I hate that. And it didn't do that except for when somebody stopped short on me. If somebody stopped short, then it's slamming on the brakes. And it still does that thing where it approaches red lights and lines of cars in a red light up at a way too high rate of speed, and it cuts the brakes on real hard. It's not dangerous. I would say it's on the edge of uncomfortable. It's more annoying knowing that you had all that room to regen. You saw these cars and you chose to approach them at 45, 50 miles an hour and then cut the speed to a stop. It's like same with the red lights. It does great on most of them, but it'll cut up at full speed to a red light until it can do max regen to the end. And then after max regen, then it'll apply the physical brakes. Max regen isn't the best form of energy recovery when you're trying to come to a stop, because if you give it a quick shot, yes, the battery might be able to hold it all, but so much more of it can be thrown as heat. If you do a longer regen, then there's a chance that the battery will recapture more of that. But I guess max regen is better than just throwing it away to the friction brakes like it does when certain people confuse it. But the other thing is the starts. The starts are all much smoother as well. They're not my style of ludicrous launches, but they are much more aggressive than the typical driver that you run around. It'll keep up with the aggressive ones, and everybody else, they're 1 to 4 car lengths behind you at every green light when I hit the stalk. It'll push you back in the chair, but it won't like slam your head back to the headrest, and it won't slide anything that we've got on the center console that's not rubberized. Basically, like if I put hard plastic on that hard plastic, it doesn't slide, which is nice. Wasn't there also a price increase to the regular Plaid? Yeah, there was a $10K price increase that last night, and he saw it. But has your agent reached out to you yet about getting you converted over? Because they reached out to him before about the Plaid, before the Plaid Plus was canceled. They said, "Hey, you want your car now? We can move you to the front of the line." And he's like, "No, I'm waiting for the Plaid Plus." The same thing that they did to us when we were waiting on our Model 3. They're like, "Hey, you want to get a car now? We got a great in-stock program. We got great used cars, blah, blah, blah." The whole thing that, even regular car dealers do it, where they're trying to just kind of get you to buy what's in stock. And he's like, no, I'll wait for the Plaid Plus. And he's a little upset that it came the way it did, because the timing felt like they should have known something. But then I reminded him that the people reaching out for the conversion are just regular run-of-the-mill salespeople. Because if you tell them what's coming up, then that's too many people, and there's a chance that it would leak before Elon's able to make his announcement. And so they often don't know stuff until we know stuff, which is super annoying to the Tesla staff, because they don't, they're at work. They don't keep their phones open all the time. But what I've suggested in the past is that when Elon tweets, have a bot send the tweet to the top of their inboxes with the important flag flagged, and then they just have to hope it's not a meme. There we go. So then the other major thing I noticed with the new FSD update is the Mad Max routing is a lot more permissive than it used to be. It still passes slower cars, and then it still wants to get out of the passing lane if you haven't turned off the out of the passing lane option once it hits the set speed. but I find that it's sometimes 5 to 10 miles an hour slower than the set speed just following some Sunday driver. And other times, it gets up to the car. It's like, hey, let's pass this person. And other times, it can see them driving slowly, and it wants to pass without slowing down first. Other times, it pulls up on them, and then it gets to about a 7 or a 5 on the following distance before it offers to change lanes to go around them. So what I've taken to doing is I now just flick on the signal, especially with all these people, like I said, trying to pass me on the right, and I get over before I get to the trucks. That way, you don't get to the point where it's now stuck at your following distance, and you've got all these people queued up on the left because they're all doing different speeds, and you need to pass too. And you got to wait for everybody to pass because once they see your signal on, they all bunch up like jerks. They called you right on Friday and Sunday. Saturday he did it. Oh, Sunday he did it. Yes, exactly. Let me do this. I'm gonna. If you're where you can talk about it, I want to get you to just tell us about your experience. Let's see if I can't. Forward this to you. If you want. All right, so let's see here. Eddie is asking. Oh no, man! I'm sorry to hear that. Did they say that they can? How's it going to be? Are you going to be good, or anything we can do to help you? Either way, I want you to get well soon. All right, get some rest. It says another message here. I don't see the other message. I don't change. This is fun doing this on the mobile. And then what was the other thing with the FSD? The passing situation, and I'm glad I mentioned it in the video because I don't remember right now. But I know the routing was different. That was fun. When we put in the trip from home to here in Charleston, the routing is now definitely back to where it wants to. Actually, Omar can talk to this.
Hey, Casey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well. I was just talking about the routing with the new supercharger logic, and so what Omar and I found is the car wants to go to places and then just charge up to nearly full every time you go somewhere. So if you only need 3 stops, it's going to make the 3 stops or 2 stops, and then it wants to stay for minutes, like extra minutes, rather than. For what I did was I went to the Better Route Planner app. I started on the website, and then I moved over to the app when it was time to drive. ABRP wanted a 55-minute total charge time from South Carolina or from Virginia to South Carolina, and Tesla wanted almost 2 hours of charging, and it kept telling me, ABRP kept telling me, hey, you can leave now. And Tesla's like, you're not going to make it to the supercharger you've asked me to go to. You're going to be at negative 3%. And then as I'm routing along, the Tesla corrected, because I would wait until the Tesla said I'd be at 3%. And so I actually put an extra 12 or 15 minutes total into the trip than I needed to because of that. And so the car was like, oh, yeah, you're actually going to get there with 15%. And I get there and it has like almost 20%. And so on the way back, assuming that there's not that these stretches that I'm going to make, assuming that there's not a supercharger desert as there can be here in the Southeast, then I'm going to just go when ABRP says to go and see what happens, rather than waiting on the Tesla to say, hey, it's clear to go. And then Omar and I both had all-time highs for the longest time in a while on our supercharging. I hit 178 kilowatts. And Omar, you got what?
I was actually able to see 113.
113 on a 2013 Model S 85.
Right, and I haven't seen that speed in a while.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I'm thinking Tesla may have did something with their algorithm or something to where I don't know why they would do this. So I haven't been able to confirm it fully, but the superchargers that I've hit in my local area because I haven't really been going anywhere for the past year.
Yeah.
So I've been pretty local or regional, but the ones in my local area, I've been seeing speeds a lot slower.
Yeah.
But now on this trip, for some reason, I'm back to normal speeds that I had been seeing, you know, from a couple years ago. Hey,
Right.
Steph.
Hey, Steph.
Hi. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty well.
Good.
Mine, huh?
Omar, are you traveling?
I am. So I'm currently at family's house in Maryland, where I'm in Columbia, Maryland right now.
Awesome.
Okay. Nice.
And I'm in North Charleston, South Carolina.
And I'm in.
You're So my situation was when the V3s first started hitting the East Coast, I went over to Lynchburg, Virginia, and the place wasn't even on the map when I went, so I couldn't do the preconditioning. And the car, I plugged in, the car got 174 or 179 kilowatts, and it charged normally, and then it was fast as heck. And then after that, I went to the next one back towards DC. So I want to say, I don't want to say. You can see it on the map. It's the next V3 up from Lynchburg. And the car charged at 140 kilowatts or something to that effect. And then after that, it was 120 on a regular V2 station that was upgraded to 150. I only got 120. And then after that, I could never break 118, and typically it would prefer 112 kilowatts. Omar's like, man, those are nice speeds. But coming from a car that could do the 150 regularly, it was quite a disappointment to see a 40 kilowatt drop, especially when you're on a road trip. That adds minutes to your trips. And
I've literally never seen more than 120 ever.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, because remember the V2 stations were doing, when they were deployed, they did 120. So that's probably when you saw it. And then they upgraded them to 150 with software, most of them, not all of them. And the V1 stations were originally 90 kilowatts. And then they got upgraded to 100 or so, 100, 110, something like that. And then we saw at the event, Elon was talking about, what was it, 280, 300, 350. And did he mention 450? I don't remember. But those were all really fast numbers. I'm curious if that's going to be Cybertruck or if that's just future vehicles or if Model 3 can handle that, because that will be really cool to see. One of the things he mentioned is that the Model S Plaid can add almost 50% of the battery in 15 minutes at a V3 station today. That is incredible and it's exciting.
Are there any videos that people have done? Like any of the people that have got them, have they put any online yet?
Yes, there are a few. So unfortunately for me, I found that the steering wheel is not actually a yoke. It's a square wheel, and it can rotate more than one time. So when you're doing a K-turn or U-turn, it will do that. And so when you
I'm kind of disappointed that they did that.
Yes.
I don't know how that's going to work or how comfortable people are going to feel with that.
I saw a lot of people complaining about it without testing it yet, but I can see the difference.
What are y'all making?
Say?
I said, how many U-turns are you guys making?
It's not just U-turns, but it just turns in general. So, like, even if you're just making a 90-degree turn, you're just turning around a corner and turning. The fact that you're rotating this much to turn, like you don't have this part of the wheel. It's like
exactly
you're doing it from the bottom. It's just weird.
Thankfully, it's got all that on the bottom.
Yeah.
I was hoping that it would be like this. This is straight. This is full lock left. This is full lock right. Or even like this. Like, so you don't have to pick your hands up, but you have to grab again and again. It's like, how comfortable would that be for most people? I mean, I'll definitely get the hang of it because that's the kind of driver I am. But
I mean, you can get used to anything, right? But
back to my computer. Okay, I hear people.
I could get used to anything, eventually, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Casey. Your video froze, but we can still hear you.
Yeah.
But it's just weird.
Good.
So yeah.
Okay, I'm back. All right, so
Welcome back.
I like the way David put it. He called it a broken wheel.
Yeah.
Um, essentially, it is a clip steering wheel, but the way that I guess the way that they got their approval is they called it a square steering wheel, and I'm hoping that that is why they did it the way they did, and that in the future they can do some software updates or something to turn it into a yoke, because there's a reason that we don't have square steering wheels today. They tried it a bunch of times in the 50s and 60s, and I don't know. What do you think about it, Stephanie? Aside from not making that many U-turns.
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun and different.
Yeah, it looks sharp, and I do like the way, like he pointed out, the way it opens up the cabin, especially you can see that screen without, or having the wheel in an uncomfortable place that you can see the screen. I like that, and it does look sharp. I just hope that, and I'm not going to pass judgment on it until I go on a test drive of my own on highways and local roads, and I'm gonna try a U-turn. I'm gonna try just a hard left turn, hard right turn. So I'm not gonna be one of those people just screaming it's terrible, but I am disappointed that it didn't behave like an airplane yoke.
So it looks.
And David, yeah, I see what you mean about the stocks. Yeah.
That looks looks awkward, but like you, Casey, I don't want to pass judgment either until I actually try it. Until I actually try it for myself, I don't want to say, that it's unrealistic or not, because I don't know.
Exactly. That's one thing that always annoyed me with folks like saying, "Oh, EVs will never work," or "That's not an American car." I'm like, how could you even say it's not an American car? You even know where it was built? California's part of America, and and the ones like my sister always tell me EVs will never work. She tells me every time I'm in the middle of a multi-100-mile trip. I'm like, did I just snap my fingers and show up here?
Does it sound better now? Someone asked.
Yeah,
It sounds better now, or no?
No, it doesn't better. You're definitely. We can definitely hear you better. You were very low before.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds better to me. Everybody in the audience, how is our volume level now?
I had to click a button.
I had to click a button? I love it. So David says he likes stocks, and I get the ease of the stocks. But from the demos I've seen of how the system works when you have the auto sensing directional feature turned off, literally you get a Prendle right at the bottom of where the phone is. So that part works the same. You just push it just like on a regular car. And what I'm seeing is very clear. You put your foot on the brake, and then you see a big animation of what the car is going to do. Is a big arrow going back, big arrow going forward. And if you push accelerator, it's going to do that. And if it's picked the wrong thing, then you just slide on the side of the screen, up or down, or you can push both wheels and then push down there, which seems like an extra step. So what I would do is I would just slide my right thumb on the edge of the screen to go the other direction if it picked wrong. And so the guy I watched do his not U-turn, he did a K-turn. When he went to go turn the car around in a school parking lot, it took him a quarter of a second to, and that's just because you can tell he's not used to the new location of everything yet. And it actually seemed almost as fast as the way I do it, despite the fact that he's juggling this half a steering wheel and, and trying to learn the new position of his controls. So I was like, okay, I can work with that. And then the steering. A lot of people complain about the horn button. The only complaint I have about the horn button is that there's only one of them, and it's only on the right. I'd like to see 2 horn buttons. But one thing I did like about it is if you palm the whole right-hand side of the steering wheel, just mash the side of the wheel, like you might do if you're angry or panicking, the horn sounds. So you don't even have to hit the little button. You just have to, and then the horn beeps.
Well, that's good.
And then, of course,
it has that physical, horn in the middle that everybody's used to.
Well, I don't know if the center pad is just an airbag or if it's a button. I hope it's also still a button, but if not, then you just mash the whole right hand, so the steering wheel nubbin thing will be under your palm, and it'll beep, which is good, because if I'm in an emergent situation, I'm not always as precise as I could be with my dexterity. Let's see here. I think I've seen the wheel you're talking about. It's just like the one. Yes, they've done it before, so it's not new. It's just that the way that I don't know. I don't know. Andrew says you sound better on the other end of the stream now. So perfect. Thank you, Andrew. And am I able to show a picture of the car tweets? I can show. I'm on the one screen now. I don't know if I have any pictures of the wheel in front of me. I don't. Let me see what I can do. If you guys want to talk about your experiences with the event, while I look for some pictures for Robert Williams.
So overall, I was impressed with the specs, with the speed, with everything that they're really able to do. The only thing that I was slightly disappointed with was they kept the range at 390, which I thought they were going to increase it a little bit to like 420 or 430 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But you know, I mean, the difference between 390 and 420 or 450, whatever, it doesn't matter, is the fact that on a regular basis, nobody's going to use all that extra range anyway. So you're just adding extra weight to the car, extra batteries,
right?
That extra resources. So at 390 is plenty. I think, once you're close to the 400 range mark, and as fast as it's going to charge, they said 187 miles in 15 minutes of added range. I mean, that's
right.
That's crazy. Crazy fast. So
I thought the range was going to be higher, and that was the justification for getting rid of the Plus.
That's what I thought as well. I figured that he would go to 400, 420, 450, and I was disappointed that didn't happen.
I think the focus was performance. And so when he got the performance basically the same as the Plus for just the regular Plaid, I think that's why he got rid of the Plus, because performance-wise, it's pretty much the same. And I guess that's what the focus was. I did like the interior, all the stuff they did to the interior, because that needed a refresh. It felt like it was getting dated, and it felt like the interior needed a refresh. And so I love the interior, what he did with that.
Yeah, I also like that they didn't just slap a new interior in there, like for looks. They actually made the dashboard thinner. They moved the front seat forward. They made more room in the rear seat, and I think the way that they did that was smart. I was looking for a video that I saw where Tesla did it, but these are all the old car. They're not the new one. That's me making that sound. I'm sorry. Microphone is like wobbling.
Well, Steph, what did you think?
What did you guys think of the fact that they did it from the track?
Well, the fact that they did it at the track, I thought was great, because then the people that were there at the event, that they were getting their cars delivered and everything else, they were able to actually take it out on the track.
I'm not hearing it, but I'm seeing
test
it.
drive it on the track. And
oh, you're muted.
I could hear him.
Am I?
No, I could hear you, Omar.
Oh, you could hear him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear. All right, go ahead. Sorry, that must be me.
Now he's muted. I can't hear him now.
Am I muted now?
No.
Okay. All right. So the fact that they hey Dan. So the fact that they put it on the track, I thought was awesome, because it allows people to test it out and drive it on the track, and actually feel that full the full performance of it. Because if you can't really test that type of performance on regular streets, so having it there on a track where they can actually test drive that and feel it, I think was really a smart move for them, for the people that were there at the event.
Without getting arrested, yes.
I just wish I was there.
Yeah. Man, that would have been awesome to be able to be there.
If they
let me see if I can.
It'd be great.
So David says that the point on having a try is fair, but I like the logical grouping of controls on my Model 3 and the wheel stocks. Yeah, I mean, they didn't do a bad job before, and I'd be curious to see. I want to try this. But I do think that there will be a lot of folks justified in not being comfortable with it. Let's see.
But people are not comfortable with the Tesla and it's finding it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wasn't comfortable with the little center touch screen. This little piece right here.
There are a lot of people not comfortable with the center touch screen.
I'm just used to it not being there now. So instead of actually pressing it on my other phone, it looks weird to actually press it. So people have to be pushed. Some of it actually has to come to reliability. Like people need to stop lying on the tech.
Right, and that's the beauty of solid state. Is a lot of it is more reliable as it is, because there's nothing to move, nothing to break.
Well, I was impressed with the fact that they were able to put those PS5 chips in there.
Yes,
the chips.
That's where all these PS5s went.
Like, wait a minute, you guys are throwing these in these cars, and it's not like they just threw one GPU in there. They have more than one because they have more than one computer that you can actually literally play games from. So they're throwing at least two in each car of chips that you literally can't get right now. Like, to me, that was impressive.
Right.
He uses David connects.
David brings up a good point that supercar specs are nice, but I really wish there was a little something on sustainability, a little news on the 25,000 model, maybe. After all, it is the mission. Exactly. And with this, I mean, I understand that some of it was because he was delivering the actual car, the Plaid car, but he could have said, hey, this is made from recycled aluminum. These are sourced from sustainably mined cobalt and blah, blah, blah. Actually, he didn't say cobalt free. He would have definitely expressed that this was a cobalt free battery that was high nickel. And he didn't say that. He didn't do that. He didn't mention any of the stuff that would make the lady, the PETA lady at the.
He could have reiterated stuff that they already had, like, we're still sticking with our vegan leather or something.
Right.
He could have reiterated something like that. I understand where his focus was and being focused on the product that he was delivering. Right. But yeah, he definitely could have still, threw a little bit more out there and mentioned some of the new things that they're doing.
If he said, hey, it does all this, blah, 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 plus it meets the mission XYZ ways. I mean, because he wasn't distracted like he was when the window broke on the Cybertruck. So he had a time to touch on all of that, and it would have been extra cool.
He did mention the drag coefficient and how
that was cool.
Aerodynamic it was.
Aerodynamic and safe.
And I think he missed an opportunity at that point to mention efficiency and say, hey, this is one of the most aerodynamic vehicles ever made as a production vehicle. And by the way, because it's so aerodynamic, that makes it more efficient, for this to be a full-size four-door sedan that's, faster than a Bugatti and safer than a Volvo, for him to, because he mentioned those type of things, but he didn't mention the efficiency.
Right.
Well, let's go back to the efficiency part. At this time in the company, we know that they're an efficient, the most economically green company there is out there. So for the Plaid,
they're up there. I'd say that.
They're one of the foremost. It's not like when anybody looks at Ford and goes, that's vegan leather. We need more as far as sustainability from Ford. No, we know that Tesla is in the forefront. So this is going back to the first gen Roadster to say, hey, we're on this path. This is the collector's car. This car is going to fund that $25,000 car. So to be like, yeah, we need notification of this, just keep pushing these out, and then that next one will go. We're kind of at that point where we expect so much from Tesla, but we forget they've made leaps and bounds to change just the automotive industry, and that's just a sliver of that company that they're working on. So to me,
they're still doing the solar and the storage as well. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like they quit. It's just they had an opportunity to bring it to the forefront again. And if we see the PETA lady at the next shareholders briefing, it'd be nice to have brought up some stuff preemptively before she has a chance to chastise Elon about it. And he says, "Okay, we'll fix that." And then 6 months later, we see it on the cars.
So But outside of the sphere, who is really worried about the speed lady? Because a lot of people just like the Tesla because they're futuristic. They're not aware of the vegan leather, like that. The Plaid Plus was for people who are into cars to get it, and most of the Teslas, people look at them and go like, "Oh, that's dope." They don't understand the efficiency, the cobalt, nickels, the stuff that we're looking into. So this is something that can be sent to geek kids all over. When that following article where Jay Leno was breaking the land speed record, that's nobody's thinking about the $25,000, Tesla, but because of that article, you start to hear words of the $25,000 Tesla, and then you start to people still have that myth that they're so expensive, but you tell them they've been out since 2016, and they're like, "Oh,
So-
really?"
So
That's
to your point,
they're
Dan,
having.
to your point, you're right in the sense that he, looking at his target audience, this was a event specifically for the Plaid, and because it was an event specifically for the Plaid, the focus really about the Plaid and the main purpose of the Plaid was really about performance and being able to outperform everybody else. And the fact that, here's a car that can outperform everybody else, blows everybody else. I mean, it's quickest production car ever. It's got a 200 mile an hour top speed, and you can do multiple runs on the track. He's solved the problem with the overheating.
Yeah, I was glad to see that because mine overheats on the track.
I mean,
driving as slow as you do, really?
Hey, always with the slices.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. So it was my first time on this track, and I was exceeding the speed limit of what we were given for each corner, and it's a very wide track. It's about 4 lanes wide. So when I'm driving at the speed limit, it looks like it's not moving all that fast. And I am driving a Model X. It's a 6,000-pound bus, and so when I push it in the corner, it wants to tip and slide. And I did better on fuel efficiency and speeds than a lot of the Model 3s and stuff that were there on the track.
Well, you definitely would have did better on efficiency than everybody else because everybody else is pushing it. So
I pushed it in the straights and coming out of the corners. I didn't push it into the corners.
It's all good, Casey.
But so I mean, yeah, it was a performance event, but he could have also said, "Hey, by the way, all of this is going to help us continue the mission." I'm not saying he should have focused on the greenie stuff, but don't say, "Oh, bump the greenie people" either, because that's a part of it. Like we wouldn't have had the vegan leather the way we do if it weren't for that group pushing him so hard. I mean, I'm not saying, at least not when we did, how we did, because she said it, and boom, and 2 months later we had the vegan leather. Whereas before, if you'd asked any of the salespeople, "Hey, I want a vegan car," they'd say, "Oh, well, you can get cloth, and then you can call up the factory and have them not put a leather wrap on your wheel." It's not the way to do it.
I get it.
It's a double-edged sword. Now, if you have, any major organization requesting anything that they want, it happens, and it sets a different precedence of, they just start demanding whatever they want to have it bent to their will. Now, the vegan leather is awesome. The vegan leather part.
Oh, I love it. It's clean, easy to clean. It doesn't wrinkle and crack. It's they did right with this material.
But I mean, when going back towards the noting for more efficiency and the sustainability part, that's Tesla's MO. I'll be more impressed if Ford told me something about sustainability and vegan leather for the Mach-E and the Lightning. That's what impresses me.
Yeah,
the companies that are more environmentally conscious that way. That's what impresses me.
Yeah,
but coming from Tesla, especially like half the stuff we're talking about, half people won't know what vegan leather is, the benefits of vegan leather. They're gonna call it pleather. So I mean, it's. I understand the statement of it, but to me, this is just a very cool moment. And if you were there, you could have gotten to the supercar for the first time ever in your life and just burned it on a track and just have that experience that not a lot of people are going to have. So,
well, it's not fair to call it pleather because it looks and feels like leather. Yeah,
you want to call it pleather, and it's like, no, it's not pleather. You don't understand.
So
it is different. It is different.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's touched it who would have called it pleather unless they're just being mean.
Which, as we know, a lot of the car culture can be.
can be. So what else do we want to touch on with that? The Brooks from Drag Time, they like when he got in, they told him that they weren't going to do a quarter mile. He did the 0 to 60 in the 2 seconds, and then they did the 0 to 100. Because he just kept the draggy going, and then his draggy called out quarter mile. I don't know if it was still just a quarter mile pull, but they actually traveled a quarter mile and it gave a time. I thought that's pretty nifty. I don't know if their driver was just helping them out and did it, or like I said, it's just that they traveled a quarter mile. That was. Whew. If you can make somebody like that who's used to driving these high performance cars, make him start cussing again.
Yeah, it's impressive.
That's impressive.
I think it'd be interesting to see somebody like Jamie Foxx or somebody else get behind the wheel and even get in and do it again.
That would be cool because Jamie Foxx did his was it a Model 3 he was demoing? That was a fun demo.
Yeah, that was a Model 3.
That would be more interesting to see, or even to get him out into the wild to like people to get a test ride. I won't say test drive, but a test ride. So it'd be interesting to see. That'd be a lot more impressive.
Well, here's the thing. So the other thing is, back when I first bought my car, 6+ years ago, there were a lot of people that didn't know what a Tesla was, never heard of it. I would pull up and they'd be like, "Is that a Maserati? What is that?" People were like, "What? Oh, what kind of foreign car is this? Oh, you better."
Is it German?
That the maintenance is going to kill you on that. They didn't know. They had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
But fast forward to now, way more people know what a Tesla is. At least have heard of them. At least have seen them now because it's a lot more on the road. So I mean, like I said, with this event, you didn't necessarily need to focus on reiterating a lot of stuff that was already said in previous events and stuff that a lot of people already know, where he was really just focused on just trying to get the message out to what he was doing with this specific product.
Right. And that's why I liked where he pointed out, like a lot of folks were complaining that it was just a rehash of the spec sheet, but he did go into stuff like, hey, here's what the carbon overwrap or the carbon sleeved rotor bearings means. And then he went in and he showed us that it was like a COPV on the rockets. He said that it helps with the magnetic properties, and he showed it. And so that was
a lot of that stuff is very impressive for an engineering person or somebody with that type of mindset, and the people that like to deep dive under the hood and see what makes them tick. And the fact that on gas cars you pop the engine, you want to see what the engine parts and what's what, and the supercharger and this and that and the other and all the other stuff. But where with an electric car it's different.
Yeah. But then also, since a lot of people there are previous owners, and like me, they may have seen that, performance limited to heat message. To know that you won't have that again is sharp. Because he said, this helps with that. Then we have the increased cooling, this, that, and the other. And I thought it wasn't like wow, this is the best event ever. But it was like, this is a solid event, and I appreciated the way it was done. And I mean, they always could have done some things like, have the plane arrive on time so that Elon can start on time. But, he's only been on an on-time event, like, what, twice?
Speaking of Elon time, hey, Steph, did you get your date yet? Or, like, what's going on?
It got pushed back to July 4th through July 25th, I think. It hasn't changed since I sent you guys the screenshot on yesterday.
Okay. And then what about yours, Omar? Is yours still showing up early?
So they called me up the other day. They want me to go ahead and schedule my delivery so I can get it, anytime after next week.
I'm traveling. I'm going to be traveling until after the Jersey tax credit.
I'm sorry,
shows
Steph.
up.
I wish we could switch places.
Right? I mean,
I don't want mine now because I'm waiting to see what happens with these tax incentives.
And I feel like, what color did you order?
Gray.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, we got the same exact everything, but mine's black. It just keeps getting pushed out more. Sometimes they'll jump it up a week or two, but then they'll push it back like 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. He's gonna keep messing around with me and.
No, don't let it get to you. This is the worst part of Tesla ownership, is waiting for the daggum thing to show up.
Right.
If this goes into October,
It shouldn't.
It
shouldn't.
won't. It won't. It won't.
I mean, I'm already potentially at end of July.
Yes.
If it goes through October, I'm just going to cancel and wait for the lyric, because the lyric is.
It's a sharp car, but if they push you back any further, it would probably be like, hey, come pick it up September 30th at midnight.
Right,
because they do those end of quarter pushes.
Things. Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
probably why they're trying to push me to pick mine up, because they want me to get it before end of quarter.
Yeah, but it's good to see that they. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, but it's good to see that they are finally back in business. The new S, they're doing what they say, 100 a week, 200 a week, and they're going to work their way to 1,000 a week. And I'm assuming that the other, because S and X were always 2,000 a week prior to the shutdown. So I'm assuming that the other half of that 1,000 is going to be 1,000 Model X's a week, because they're very, very similar vehicles. They share a frame, basically. And now that they've got the radarless Model Ys and Model 3s coming out, those are also starting to kind of come out in big numbers. So I think that they're back in business as far as, they'll probably have a couple slowdowns week to week here with parts juggling, but I think they're back.
So has
3TC
anyone
in-house.
thought about
Now. Yikes.
Go
ahead,
Plaid
Dan.
in a Tesla vision?
Yeah.
The Plaid in a Tesla.
I did like the because we got the Starfield on the center screen of ours when we go ludicrous, and so the Plaid on the main screen was a really nice effect, and it looks like it's triggered by putting it in cheetah mode. Foot on brake, foot on accelerator, wait for it to sink down, and then launch it. And when you launch it, it goes Plaid. That was a nice touch, and it looks beautiful. All right, so we talked about Jeff Bezos and his little sightseeing mission. We talked about the Plaid and the updates to the software currently. So one thing that goes along with that is it appears that Tesla is planning to put the FSD subscription and their insurance directly in the app. So you'll be able to buy your insurance. We already are able to buy stuff directly from the app as far as upgrades, service, parts, but it'll be new to be able to subscribe, because they're buying and unsubscribing from stuff. The hacker didn't find the pricing for either. Well, insurance varies based on the individual, so it shouldn't be in there. But he also wasn't able to find the pricing for the FSD purchase subscription. So that'll be interesting to see where that plays out.
That totally makes sense for them to put the subscription in the app.
Yeah.
To make it convenient for you to go ahead and subscribe and order it, and minutes later it's just part of your car.
Your car starts rebooting next time it's in park. FSD downloading, or not even really downloading. Installing.
It doesn't even have to download. It's probably just a.
It's a lengthy.
Just enables it.
It's a lengthy reboot. It's about 15 minutes today if you turn it on. So it's definitely installing it. Whether it has to download it or not is a whole other deal. I don't think it downloads anything. I think it's literally just the reconfiguration. Like, all right, you can do all this stuff now. And Spotify was acting up for me on the way down twice. So I did a couple of computer reboots while the car was driving, and because I have MCU2, the Binnacle computer goes with the center computer, and so I'm driving along, and then somebody cuts me off, and because Navigate on Autopilot doesn't work when the NCU is off, I took over, and then again I get to hear the speaker that's in the steering column. He goes boop boop, and I didn't think anything of it. I just pulled the stalk twice and kept on driving. So there's no screens anywhere, and the car is in full autopilot.
And it re-engaged while the.
Oh yeah, it does. And then I had to get back out of the lane because I was in the passing lane. So I just took it and signal first. You don't hear any sounds with signals because there's no speakers. And then you hear the speaker at the base of the steering column, because that one is wired directly into the FSD computer. Turned on the signal and boop boop. I was like, oh. Every time that happens, it drives me wild. So if you have an MCU 2 car or new, or sorry, 2.5 car or newer. So if you have like any Model 3 or an AP 2.5 or AP3 car that was delivered that way, if you're safe enough to drive without the screen, you can do a reboot, or you can just try it next time your car is rebooting on you, because it happens sometimes. You can steer out of auto steer and you'll hear it at the. It's like coming from right in between your legs, because that's where the base of the steering column is, and it is the weirdest thing because it's like a lo-fi version of the actual autopilot sounds that you hear through the main speakers. But because I do so much autopilot driving, I didn't think anything of the fact that I am not able to see what speed I'm driving. I'm not able to see what the car is thinking. I just boop, boop, right back into autopilot. But it only makes the disconnect noise. It doesn't tell you that it's actually re-enabled. You just feel the wheel get stiff in your fingers. So that was another cool thing. The Tesla insurance, the car is going to start nagging on you, or not nagging on you, narking on you, and they will base their rates on how often you're in autopilot, how often you do full launches, how often you get a hands-on wheel prompt, and I guess just anything that they are considering to be more risky. So it's like a better, smarter version of those little dongles that a lot of the insurance companies are asking people to use today to get lower rates.
Better, smarter version. Because now it's more of a Vicky instead of.
Well, it is smarter because those when I was driving my Volt, not the Prius didn't have any guts. The Civic Hybrid, the Volts, and then the first Tesla, they would always say, "Oh, hard acceleration detected." It's like, this is how an electric car takes off. I'm not even doing launches right now. This is how an electric car takes off. There's no shifting. It's just you're at the speed. And then I take my corners fast. The tires aren't whining or complaining. The racetrack is different. But I don't often slow down all the way.
Understand safety first.
Yeah, I don't often
do anything.
Don't worry, Casey. Even though you have an X, and I know it's the biggest vehicle Tesla makes currently, you're not going to flip it on the track going around those curves.
But this is right after I saw a car taco itself after flying through the air and then landing with the two end support. The middle it looked like a taco. So I didn't want to be the next guy to crash at the track.
Well, but what kind of car was that?
It was a Model 3.
Really?
Yeah, he was going pretty fast.
Wow.
Yeah, the wheel looked like Back to the Future because it was all sideways.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
I didn't want to be the next guy. Because can you imagine? Like those two, they can't handle driving these cars on a training day. But so I do take my corners faster than normal people take them in the city.
But honestly, those cars are deceptively quick, so they'll actually look like they're moving slower than they are. Right. So I've noticed that.
Yeah. But to that point, the apps would all say, "Oh, you're cornering too hard." I'm like, nothing's spilling over, but I mean, stuff is moving inside the car as I'm making my turns, and I've become a lot more gentle in my turns when there's people in the car, just so that they I don't have to hear the complaining, or worse if there's somebody because I did my stint with Uber and I did have to give one person the sick bag because they were already drunk. It had nothing to do with my driving. We literally went straight 2 blocks and at low speed because we were on an island where the cops were out looking to give people tickets. This particular island, I think that they make their money from speeding tickets. Anyway, so beyond that, so I had to give her the bag, but anyway, so I think that the insurance companies, their apps are a little too. But the point of all of that was to say that the apps all thought that I was an aggressive driver, even though, I am on the more aggressive side, but it's not to the point that I'm unsafe. And so since the car has all these cameras and it can evaluate me and it can give a better feel for what's going on, and the fact that they love you being on autopilot because they can say on autopilot nobody ever crashes and dies. Okay, they don't say that, but they do say how much better it is than a human driver.
Well, that's the other thing. So you're right. Having Tesla has the advantage with their insurance of knowing not just how you drive, but how often you use autopilot, and they can say, "Oh, well, this person uses autopilot 72.5% of the time or whatever. So, we
Right.
can give a discounted rate on this person because he uses it all the time. This person almost never uses autopilot. They use it, 13.5% of the time. So we're going to give a little bit higher rate to that person because they don't use the automation as much. They can do things like that because
Yep. This guy's always
have more info.
tailgating. His following distance is half a second, not even 1 second. This one's always aggressively honking at people, stuff like that. And they can. I mean, the only problem I see is if AI gets it wrong, and I hope that they have a way for an appeal or something. If they give you this ridiculous rate, but I think that I think we'll see the rates go down, and it'll be fairer. And because they own the insurance company, they'll be able to dispatch the repairs and get them handled better. So, you just deal with your deductible, and then it won't take as long to get it repaired. And you won't have to fight the insurance company like, no, that's repairable, or no, that really should be totaled because it's them.
Yeah, I don't know that I like that it's them, though.
I like this them as an option. I just hope that once they do this, that nobody says, oh, you have a Tesla, you need to get their insurance. Because I have really good insurance right now. I like it.
Yeah, I like the insurance that I have, so I'm going to keep it. But I like you, Casey. I love the fact that is an option, and that's a viable option for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people will pick that option. So if you think about Tesla as a company as a whole, right? So they're making vehicles.
Yeah.
They have vertical integration where they're making a lot of the parts in-house and stuff in-house for the vehicles, such as the batteries. They're also an energy company. They're doing solar. They're doing battery backups, the solar roofs. And then on top of that, they're getting into the insurance market where they're looking to be an insurance company as well. They're actually multiple companies in one. So honestly, I mean, it's just my opinion. I'm just a guy. I'm not a financial expert or nothing like that. But personally, I think Tesla stock right now is on sale. Oh, yeah. And I think it's a highly undervalued company. And I think overall moving forward, it's a good buy.
I'm looking forward to the home HVAC with built-in water heater. And also, depending on where you are, it could be built-in water sourcing. Shoot. Because you run the AC and then the condensate is, assuming they treat it correctly, condensate is free water.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a dry place and you've been putting
you can collect that, and that could be a good byproduct.
Yeah. And then
like Florida or something, or some humid places. Exactly.
And then you've got the this is why I'm excited for what Elon was talking about, the umbrella of putting everything under the X stock, basically, because you've got after that you've got your Starlink internet, you've got your boring tunnels, and then if you want to go to another continent, you've got the Starships Earth to Earth transport. They're on the cusp of something really interesting, and I'm curious to see where it goes.
They're going to become the accidental monopoly, and you couldn't call them that because they're crossing different sectors.
Right.
That only one the company is going to be for each one. So you can't call them a monopoly in the insurance sector. You won't be able to call them a monopoly in, space-to-space, whatever, place-to-place transport because nobody's there, or internet, or vehicle, or solar, because they basically covered everything fairly well. And they're going to outclass everything.
And Dan's pointing out the Tesla restaurant as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot that's coming. Yeah.
So, they're basically going to be one company that should be efficiently able to do everything. And just knowing that the demographic that wanted the vegan leather is going to automatically go towards the Tesla restaurant. Or Tesla-rant. Ooh, I want that name. Tesla-rant. Just because
the Tesla restaurant.
They're going to have Tesla-rant. It sounds cooler.
But that's not what they trademarked.
I'm going to call it Tesla-rant. It's like the snap in it. But it's going to be fun to see how they incorporate the sustainability from all aspects. So you're going to get the vegan burgers, the bean burgers. You can actually, for the carnivorous meat eaters, so you can still have your regular fries cooked in.
I'm curious what the menu will look like.
In an air fryer with the fat drained off. You can do like industrial size Foreman grill, so it knocks the fat right out. I mean, there's so many possibilities for them to cover a wide range of just industries and just knock them in the teeth and be like, we're good at everything.
Oh, violence.
And
I hope that they learn a lot from Kimball's restaurants, and they're able to start out with all those lessons learned from out of the gate. Because, I mean, they're very successful sit-down restaurants, so now you just got to speed them up, because if your car is adding half a charge in 15 minutes, whew, you don't have a lot of time. Maybe on your way in, the menu will pop up like, "Hey, what does everybody want?" And you get it all in there. And then when you arrive and plug in, they're like, "All right, you're on 4C," and then they plug you in at 4C. Here's your food. Charge a credit card on file.
I think it's a cool opportunity to really address like food waste in
Yes.
like to go like fast dining kind of restaurants, because they are notorious for having like a ton of food waste. So
Yes.
hopefully the Tesla restaurants will really like bring some new ideas that other restaurants and like fast dining places can come up. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that part.
Absolutely, and I think that they could very easily do a lot of this, because that's one thing that they learned with Kimball is they've got the Square Roots program, so they can grow the food sustainably. As you mentioned, they know what they're doing as far as, or they should know what they've got going out. So if you have any like just spoilage or whatever, you can put it out to the compost, and then you can put that in the gardens that you're using. And then you've got the vertical roots that he's got, where you can grow, acres worth of food in one 20-foot shipping container, solar powered.
Just imagine if they go into full sustainability and take that food waste and recompost it and put it back into their farm, not too like
That's what I'm saying.
miles away, semi-shipping.
Yeah.
And they done conquered farming also, and they just closed their whole loop cycle all at once.
And the delivery could be a Tesla Semi that's using the mega charger,
or a Cybertruck with a trailer, or a
Cybertruck with a trailer.
They can accomplish so many. If they can close the cycle on their aspirations,
yes,
the restaurant is completely an ingenious idea, because you can sit, charge. They can tell you where to charge if you want to move your car and keep eating, or if you want to get it to go, like all that. So it'll be better than that Ford advertisement as you come up to the to the billboard. It's definitely has the ability for that.
Exactly.
Like Chipotle, yeah, Robert. Chipotle does that. You want to order this because you ordered it in the previous time, and I'm like, yeah, sure.
That would be awesome right there. As you pull up, hey, do you want your usual, sir? and you push it, and then by the time you actually pull in and plug in, they got you. They already know how fast you're traveling. They know if you're going into traffic, because Tesla navigation. So that was one of their first steps right there, was putting in Tesla navigation instead of borrowing somebody else's.
Well, that's the thing. If you put the navigation into your car, and the car itself can tell them the estimated arrive time and update them in real time.
And it does. The last time I was going to service, I came into just a freak traffic jam because of a crash. And I'd messaged, because we were stopped. So I pulled up my phone, messaged the shop, said, "Hey, I'm going to be another 20 minutes late. I'm sorry." The guy said, "Yeah, I didn't know." we saw you got us in on the map. You're headed here. The line in front of you is blood red. and then I pull as soon as I cross the threshold into their lot from the street. It's like, "Hey, you've arrived. You need to park in bay 2 and give your keys to the box, and the rep will be out with your loaner car." I was like, "Whoa." It's just so seamless. So they just use that same tech with the restaurant.
Yeah, and or having that green space. So it's like, oh, you got kids. We'll put you in a stall near a bathroom. So you're sitting in the secondary app, and it's like, oh, you need this. Yes. Oh, you need chicken nuggets? Sure. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I can actually do it in 15 minutes back.
And they have a great opportunity for the green space. When you look at like Kettleman and a couple of the others that they have, like the mass installations, they just got to leave a row empty with some greenness, trees, little dog play park, kid park. They got this. It's exciting.
There's a lot of potential there. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
You couldn't compare to anybody else in any other sector.
Well, I hope that they can, really, because I would like to see all of the, because it's getting to the point where Tesla won't have the most deployed chargers anymore. So I'm hoping to see that that everybody else thinks about this, because when you've got like 2 stalls or 8 stalls in the back of a Walmart parking lot, it's not the same thing as like a nice like 50s diner. That's really cool.
you do get a nice little walk to Walmart. I mean, it is a couple. You can burn some calories walking yourself.
I mean, you can, but also when you look at the overlap, how much? I mean, I get the Target overlap, but how much is there between a Tesla owner and a Walmart? I mean, I know it's there, but I'm saying I don't know. Like I get Target, but you don't want a place that closes really as your destination. That's why I keep taking points off for all these superchargers when I do the supercharger reviews on my supercharger review series. I take points off if they close. If you can't show up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and go to the bathroom, then I take points off.
See,
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad stop. I'm just saying that that's something to keep in mind because once you're on the road, the whole point of the superchargers is to be able to get from point A to point B. And if you're on the road and now you have to make an extra stop somewhere, I did give extra points, or I didn't take off as many points for like Santee because one is at a hotel, so you can still get into the hotel if you not during the COVID times, but you can still get into the hotel, use the restroom. But they also share an exit with a rest stop, a regular highway rest stop. So they didn't lose as many points for that.
And it's also the one in Santee is walking distance to there's like a McDonald's over there.
McDonald's, Burger King.
There's a
gas stations.
The Waffle House.
Waffle House, yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
Well, and just about safety, like I see people post pictures and they're charging late at night and they're by themselves, and I'm like, I probably would have went past that one. So I definitely like the idea that there are going to be places where there are businesses that are actually open. So if I'm there charging at night by myself, it's not super sketch.
Exactly.
That's a huge consideration as well, because there's certain
totally
superchargers I refuse to stop at anymore. Well, I totally try my best to avoid because of I don't feel like that's a good, safe spot where it's located. So,
right. Like I did a video on there was a young lady and her daughter. They were held at gunpoint at the Burlington supercharger. They did actually catch the guy and arrest him, but
at Burlington. I stopped at that on this trip.
Yeah, it's a nice stop, but I can see I can
see where that could be dangerous at night.
Yeah, my wife and I have actually stopped there late at night before, and that's another one where they close at night. Once the movie theater's done at 1 or 2 in the morning, there's nothing else open in there, and so then the local teens will come in and they'll do donuts in their Carolina squat trucks where they aren't straight for whatever reason. They're just looking at the sky. So they're doing donuts, and they haven't hit a Tesla yet that I know of, but they're trying to get a rise out of the people doing the supercharging. And another one that got me was the new Milford, Connecticut. I was there when they were repainting the lot or something, and so once the construction crew was gone from painting the lot, they shut the lights off on me. I'm sitting here in the middle of nowhere at a mall that I've never been before, and then all of a sudden it's pitch black. I was taking a nap while the car was charging, and it wasn't too scary, but it was it does. Once it goes dark like that, you do start to think because it's just you and all these red Tesla lights.
Right. So another spot that I'll stop in Burlington. I don't mind that spot too much because usually when I'm there, I'm not there during that time frame where nothing at all is open.
Right. I try to avoid that, but
another spot that I don't like, again, North Carolina, Lumberton.
Oh, I don't like Lumberton at all.
That spot is.
Although if you do eat steak, bring your key card or your
they give you a discount.
Tesla. They give you a discount at the Roadhouse or whatever it is there. Yeah.
I forgot the name of that steakhouse there, but
I think it's Texas Roadhouse or Texas Steakhouse, something like that.
I think it's Steakhouse. Yeah, Texas Steakhouse. I think it is. But that's that spot right there is really sketchy. Like, I avoid that one.
I have a friend who grew up in Macon, and he says, "Hey, make sure you're packing when you go to the Macon supercharger." And there's 2 of them now. The one he was talking about was the original one, so it's not the one off of Old Somebody Boulevard. It's the original one by the Harriet Tubman Museum. And so then after he told me that, I saw a sign that another Tesla owner had posted that it was on the door to a gas station, and it was printed. It says, "Hey."
Is that the one near the Cracker Barrel?
I don't know. I went during a parade, so.
Okay, all right.
There wasn't much that I could go and see. We were able to walk and see the cherry blossoms, and we were able to walk to the car and get back out before they said, "Hey, get out." But there's a sign that this other Tesla owner had posted in one of the I don't know if it was a forum, Reddit, whatever. It was a picture of the door of a gas station where they put in a hand printed sign that said, "I hope you're packing because I am," and something to the effect of, you got to take care of yourself. I was like, oh, this really is sounds like a nice place where it's every man for himself sort of situation. And I'm like, I'll only be stopping here during the day if I ever stop here again at all, because my goal is to get all the superchargers in my view. I don't know what I'm going to do when it comes time. I got to change continents, but right now I'm working on North America to get all the superchargers in there. But so I had to stop there once, and I was like, this really does, other than the parade, this really does feel like my friend was describing, and like the picture said at the gas station. I was like, oh. But during the parade, I felt safe. It was nice. But I hope they take that into consideration with more of the installations. They need to start installing cameras on more of them, and I would really like, if they don't switch to the robot charger, I really would like to see them have an emergency release on the charge port, both in America and worldwide with the CCS port, where you can just drive off and it'll unlatch, the stop charging and then unlatch. And then obviously for the superchargers, hey, bill me if it was not a legit emergency that I had to escape from. But if I was, if it was legit, I'd prefer not to pay. But I mean,
I think
I'd rather that option and pay you even if it was legit than to be stuck in a situation where something's going on.
If this gets too of an issue with security at the supercharger stations, it's just going to be Tesla security. He's going to enter into their fear.
Yeah, but that's a lot of. I definitely don't want to see an armed robot, but
not an armed robot.
That's going to be a lot of employees to keep a lot of these superchargers.
Be people
safe.
That are familiar with, that have previous security, knowledge or prior military.
Right, but as a shareholder, that's a lot of employees.
Yeah, but again, it's not like they cannot. I've never seen a Tesla job or a SpaceX job that says you don't get total benefits from day one. They're gonna eat up every sector. Like Elon's gonna be like, oh, that's an issue, Tesla security, and it's gonna be like, okay, like.
Well, and they have the training because he's constantly surrounded by bodyguards. So I mean,
yeah, and it's
not like he's unfamiliar with it.
There, so
yeah,
I mean, he can
the chargers in locations where.
And David brings up a good point here too. I mean, ever since we ended our real and partial and fake lockdowns, our mass shootings have gone up instantly, and back to our usual every couple days cadence. I don't know how we're going to fix it as a private citizen. I don't know, but we need to do something instead of just washing our hands and saying, "Oh, thoughts and prayers. Oh, what can we do?" Says the only country where this never happens, or where this regularly happens all the time.
Well,
So,
no, you shouldn't have to. It shouldn't have to be Demolition Man or Judge Dredd to be able to safely enjoy your life in the country as a citizen.
I get that reference.
So Steph was making a point about
yes.
I think locating.
So another thing that came up during the event. Sorry, I'm going back to the event. This is just the way I have the stories laid out. Was somebody was on the Tesla configuration site and noticed that the Model X Plaid no longer had the red brake calipers like all of the P series cars from Tesla have had from 2012. Like literally the original P85, where it had the sticker for a emblem, like it looked cheap, but it was a sticker that you put on after you got the car, because when the car shipped, they didn't have emblems or sun visors. But ever since then, the car had red brake calipers if it was a performance car, all the way up through not just my P100D, but also the Raven cars, the performances, like literally where they don't say what size they are, they just say performance and it's underlined, or long range and it's not underlined. Or in the case of Model 3, where they don't say anything at all unless it's a performance car. They don't say dual motor, it'll be underlined. But this is the first time where they didn't have, at least on the configurator, they didn't have red brake calipers. And they did just last week. They did have red brake calipers on the configuration page. And then in the black car that Elon drove up onto the stage, it had black brake calipers.
So that's an odd change to make.
So on these cars where they all look identical, whether you're in the cheapest model or the most blanged out model at the top of the scale, Now there's nothing differentiating the two cars externally. I mean, yeah, you'll find out. So I guess from the factory, it's the ultimate sleeper. But how do you guys feel about not having any differentiation when you buy the top trim?
I don't think most people notice the top trim.
I mean, there aren't that many.
Well, no, I think.
But I do notice whenever I go to the Springfield Supercharger, and there's this guy with a 75D Model X, and he's got these slightly off-colored. What do you call them? The brake caliper covers, or they're painted. I'm not sure which, and they're not quite right. And so I'm like, oh, something looks wrong. I'm like, oh, it's that guy with the 75D, and it's like, why are you fronting? You don't need to front because you've got the other Tesla owners know that, hey, that's not real, so you're not really impressing them. And then the people who don't have a Tesla, they just see a Tesla like, oh, cool, that guy's got a Tesla. So they're not going to be impressed whether it's the top one or the bottom one. They're just like, hey, you got a Tesla. I don't.
Well, any Tesla's a sleeper, so I don't
yeah, they don't exactly turn heads until
you just be like, where'd it go? And then just,
yeah,
it's something I noticed because of where we are, the enthusiast part, but
right.
Anybody who just be like, oh, that's just, most people are well known now that Teslas are the higher end of the electric vehicles, but as far as the P85s, the P100s, the performances of anything, it's good. As long as you could beat them off the light and embarrass them, I don't think it's really going to matter. Because at top speeds is where another car might catch you, but
right.
that initial pain of being just beat off the line, you're like, this is embarrassing. That's what's going to cause, especially in a Cybertruck, when you start to burn them in the DeLorean's older brother, and they're going to be like, they're going to feel some type of way. Then you need to, get to my bulletproof.
That'd be awesome to get kissed stomped by a Cybertruck.
So, yeah. And depending on where you at, they're not going to take it too nicely. So, having the up armor, for lack of a better word, is going to help because they're going to be upset with you.
Well, exactly. For all the noisemaker cars,
I also hope that they don't really play up the small arms. Yeah, I really hope they don't play up the small arm situation because I would really hate to have people taking pot shots at the Cybertruck.
I'm worried about reflections. So that's why I'm more worried about the ricochets, if anything. But getting a wide open highway field area, yeah, they're gonna feel some type of way, and it'd be different. But Tesla's becoming a well enough known brand without advertising that they've become. They're past the Bugatti phase. They're past the phase that even as we discussed a while, a Halo car, they're still attainable. So people are still like, okay, if they're 115K, if this is within my budget, I might shoot for it. And you're like, no, they're 35, they're 40K, and they'll go, what? But they're dropping down from the Bentley level, and they're reaching into the Audi Beamer level. So it's getting there, but I think it's going to be highly interesting to see once we get to those levels.
Right, high voltage. I mean, as somebody, because you and I both own the P series cars, it's something I will personally miss. I would like to see. I'd like to see it come back. Maybe they were just out of red paint or something. I don't know, but at the same time, I it won't stop me from getting the car. If I had to rebuy for any reason, I mean, oh no, the brakes aren't red, I'm not going to buy it. That's not how it's going to go for me.
That's a simple paint. You can take it to a shop.
I mean, yeah, I could do it myself.
But that's simple. Or you might find somebody that really does it in an efficient manner. Just go to the store.
Yeah, Robert Williams is saying most people can't even notice it. So, I mean, it's just us nerds.
Nobody's buying it just to flex on people.
Right. Most people aren't flexing with it.
Yeah,
or the fact that they are flexing, it's the fact that it is a Tesla.
To buy a Tesla is the flex.
Well, for some people, like me, not really that. But like that guy I talked about with the 75D at the supercharger, that's definitely something he's trying to. Well, that he thinks it's real cool looking.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be that person. You give me a Tesla, I'm going to flex. They're like,
Not
how
me,
much you pay for it?
because
400 grand.
mine, so I'm not going to flex on anyone. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'd rather.
Get out front flex. It's gonna be like, oh, this thing, it's just a Tesla.
I'm not that either, but I mean, I don't want people to feel bad about it, and I don't I'm not trying to make myself look better than
You're not flexing. You're not flexing sufficiently if you're not making people be like, "Oh."
Well, I mean,
That's an inadequate flex, Casey. The flex has to make them be like, "Ooh."
if I try and flex with it, it makes me look like a jerk because if they have if they have a Tesla, they're like, oh, that thing's 2 years old. Mine's much better than yours. and
flex around other Tesla owners, but
right, and then if I try with somebody who doesn't have a Tesla, they're like, look at this guy. Oh, he's full of himself. He's got a Tesla. So
but
it's
if they
like,
don't have a Tesla, they don't even know that what the red signifies. So
right, yeah.
And then it goes.
I'm never going to buy the top trim, so for me, it makes zero difference.
Yeah. Well, whatever's affordable, I would definitely go for it. But that's just the way I've always done with my cars. I don't like to have blank buttons on the dashboard.
I think the Cybertruck might be the only vehicle I do that with. That I go for top trim.
Yeah. Although with the Tesla, you don't have to worry about that because there are no blank buttons on the dashboard.
True.
Yeah. All right. So what was the next thing there? We talked about the red calipers. So let's close that. So another thing that happened is Tesla dials in the Model Y production line with tooling improvements. So it looks like General Assembly 4 at Fremont has had some adjustments to make it even better at building Model Ys. So this is a different article than I thought I had put in there, so I'm skimming it real quick. So it was originally used to produce Model 3, and now it makes Model Ys. And so they filed to make the changes that they made permanent. So GA4 is now no longer. It's still going to be a tent, but they're going to add plumbing and such like that underground. They're going to have foundations, and then they're going to update the tooling. So
they should be able to make them quicker and make more of them.
Right. Somebody was complaining about their cars not being made in the tent when they had another manufacturer. It's not a fabric canvas tent. It's not like a wedding event. It just happens to be a sprung structure.
Well, so Elon always said that making the machines that make the machines is the really hard part.
Yes.
So that was one of the things that almost bankrupted the company when they were trying to ramp up the Model 3.
Yes.
So every time they can make any improvements on the line in the tooling and everything else, it's just going to make them more efficient and make them be able to get more vehicles out faster. And right now, Tesla's biggest problem is a supply issue. It's not a demand issue.
Exactly.
So right now, as of right now, I mean, who knows later on down the line in the future, but as of right now, they have more demand than they have production.
Yes.
So if they can, the more production, the more they can produce, the better off they are.
Excellent.
Then people won't have to wait as long, like Stephanie here.
Oh man. All right. So another one that I had, I'm trying to get the tab so I can share it. Share. See, this is different on the one screen, guys, or at least the regular normal format screen. No, there's no audio to share. Boom. So coming from electric, we've got this. How's the zoom, guys?
That's good.
Okay, because I know on my other one I got to zoom it way up for you guys to see it. So this is the claims to be the world's first electric autonomous container ship. And when you look at it, the container ships right now are between the container ships and the cruise ships. They are one of the largest contributors to transportation pollution, other than personal transport with cars and trucks. Then you've got airplanes, of course, as well, and truck shipping. But outweighing all of that has always been the container ships and the cruise ships. So what do y'all think about an autonomous container ship? That's electric.
Well, I don't care about the fact that it's autonomous, but the fact that it's electric to me is really impressive, and it makes sense because if you look at the amount of space that it would take to hold the amount of fuel that those things burn.
Yeah.
You get rid of all that fuel space and you fill that up with batteries, and then you make electric motors instead of those diesel motors or whatever they're using. And the next thing you know, you have something that needs a lot less maintenance, way more efficient, a lot more, and they can actually produce a lot more torque with electric motors than you can with gas or diesel, way more efficiently, to the point that it just makes sense. I don't know. I don't know why more sea vessels aren't switching over to electric. Like that should be a lot more. I want to see a lot more of this.
Electric and sail.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, use wind and use electric. I don't see why not.
I think the autonomous is really just because this is owned by Norwegian Fertilizer, so it seems that they have a set route. I don't know that would be necessary worldwide, because then what do you do about piracy?
Well, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
So you can have it autonomous.
Yeah.
You can have people as well able to take over or do whatever,
Oh, good idea. Yeah. You need half the crew.
But now you need half the crew that you needed before.
Good idea.
So now we're getting into the fact that the robots and the AI are going to be taking over jobs. So realistically, moving forward, and this is going to be happening across all industries, the robots are taking our jobs.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
David has a point. He says that no one can threaten the computer captain. This is my ship now. I'm the captain now.
With a hack, they can.
Yeah, they can. That's why cybersecurity is really important.
But
even without cybersecurity, they can hack it. There's analog ways to hack the computers just by, they're programmed to avoid obstacles and stuff like that. Now you can purposely put obstacles in the way to purposely make them go off course and change direction and do certain things. So now you can. But
that's where your idea of it being half the crew is better, because then they can all be armed guards.
Yeah.
But think about all the oil spills that we've had.
Yes.
That the potential for this to really change, just the environmental pollution in our oceans. I think this is pretty big. Bigger than even switching over school buses and even the children breathing and everything is super important to me. I just think that transitioning to EV shipping containers and just fleets, it's huge. It's huge, and it could really benefit the ultimate mission and goal better than a lot of other things. So
absolutely. And with it being where was I going with that? Sorry.
I agree with you, Steph, wholeheartedly.
All of that does help the air worldwide, because we all breathe the same air.
Transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly small either. It's able to hold a couple containers. So Cobra Told You says, good morning. Good morning, Cobra Told You. EV bus amphibious. That would be interesting, like a duck boat that's electric, as long as they can keep it from flipping over and doing whatever duck boats do. Oh, I remember my point now, Steph. I was building on what you were saying. A lot of the oil spills and such are coming from poor maintenance, which the computer won't fix that, but the fact that you can fix it and then send the computer on its way without a schedule, that helps. And then you've got a lot of the crashes and such come from hubris and bravado, and hey, I've been doing this for 50 years. I know what I'm doing. And then they, run aground, or the computer doesn't have an attitude. So if the conditions are right, it will follow. If the conditions are wrong, it's going to halt or go around or do whatever it's told to do. It's not going to risk the asset, because safe than sorry. You can run 24/7.
Yep.
Yeah. So we should have less spills, less crashes, less sinkings from the human factor, the accidents, or not really. They're not all accidents. Crashes, really. Just like I said with car crashes, they're not accidents. They're crashes. Yeah. All right. So let's take audience questions and such. Anybody got anything for us? I'm looking for the battery, 7 megawatt hours. That's 100 Tesla Model 3s. They said. I wouldn't put it that way. I'd put it as 100 kilowatt hours. So that's not 100 Model 3s because the Model 3 is under 100 kilowatt hours, and mine is 100. Mine's 100 kilowatt hours. So 2 times 700. That is. Oh, sorry. They also mentioned the power as 2 times 700 kilowatts. I think it's only 7, but that's just how much it draws at one time. 200 kilowatts at one time, and then the motors themselves are 900 kilowatts. But the kilowatt hours, so 7,000. Yeah, 7,000 divided by 100. They did their math wrong when they said 100 Model 3s. That's all I'm saying there. I'm blanking on the math. I'm sorry.
Well, no, because that would be like 70 Model S's. So
70 Model S's. Okay.
So it probably is 100 Model 3s.
Okay. Then maybe. EV motor bike jet ski. I've seen 2 varieties. I've seen the electric jet ski, and I've seen the electric airfoil ski. So you're on it, and then it lifts out of the water for better drag.
Oh, like a hydrofoil.
Yeah, hydrofoil. Yeah. Both of them are hydrofoils.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The bus route exists as a video of Facebook. Okay. What the heck? All right, so the chat has gone wild. I mean, I've seen all you guys' messages, but it's saying that I didn't. All right. So, did you guys have any stories you saw that you wanted to bring up to the crew, or?
So I've been on a road trip.
How's that been?
The last 4 days. It's been very interesting. What was interesting to me was Tesla's algorithm on how it wants me to stop for a longer period of time at each supercharger.
Yeah.
Instead of stopping at more superchargers. So I don't know why they've decided to program it that way. Maybe it's better for newer drivers to feel more comfortable because they're, at a higher state of charge.
I only had to stop twice.
Me being me,
yeah,
I wasn't doing that.
I've had to stop 8 times.
What's funny is so at one supercharger that we stopped at, I was talking to another Tesla owner, and they were on their first road trip in their Tesla, and they were asking about, well, do you really have to stop this many times, this often, or what? So I was explaining to them the curve on how the battery charges up faster from a low state of charge, and as it gets full, the charge rate continues to slow down.
Yeah,
which therefore makes it more time efficient to stop more often than to wait longer to make less stops.
Exactly.
Fill up a tank of gas than wait till the very end and wait for a large tank to fill.
Yeah.
Right. So the funny thing is, I was stopping more often than the Tesla told me I needed to.
Yeah.
But I was stopping for less time at each stop. So where the Tesla wanted me to stop for 50 minutes here at this spot. I was like, no, I'll stop for 15 minutes here. Yeah. Then I'll go to the other stop and stop for 20 minutes there, and then accomplish the same thing and save an extra 15, 20 minutes of waiting. So that's what I was, that's what I did.
Yeah. The only time I want to take a long stop is if it's dinner time, lunchtime, or if I feel like taking a nap. Otherwise, exactly like David and you said, ABRP was telling me 55 minutes total for my trip. Tesla was telling me an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. Which one are you going to prefer to do?
Exactly.
I mean, one of my stops was 6 minutes. I understand. I don't want to get off the road for 6 minutes, but if I get off the road for 6 minutes and then later on hit another station that's a V3 charger instead of Tesla wanted to keep me on all V2s for some reason, and I mean, come on.
I think that'll work. The quick charges, so that's everything in a short time frame. So I can go from 50 to 80% within a 15-minute window. I think that'll work, and that's a good selling point for like families instead of having that large 3-hour mark where you gotta change small kids. Like, you gotta go to the bathroom, okay? Yeah, who needs to stretch? And then one runs, the other one is just running around to get their feet stretched because little kids can't sit still, nor can kids or anything. And
Yeah.
throw them back in, and by that time you done gained another, well, for a gas, or you done gained another quarter tank, or just a little bit over, and for that much you'd be like, okay, we can keep going. And now you're realizing this was fun because it was easier to do.
Well, each leg it had me do, even with the 6-minute stop, each drive was over an hour and a half. So I mean, that was plenty of time for me to want to get out and stretch my legs anyway. With the Tesla stops, it's about 2 hours each stop, but then you have to stop for a good chunk of an hour. It's like, why, guys? Why? It feels like they're just trying to pander to the new owners, and I hope there's a setting later on that says, "Hey, I want the fastest trip time, or I want the least number of stops." Because I'm going to pick the fastest trip time.
Because that's going to be two different things. Exactly.
Completely different things.
What's interesting is that it used to do the fastest trip time.
Yeah, it used to be that way.
They changed their algorithm. So this was like within, I don't know which software update version it was, but at some point they decided to go with a different algorithm that's causing you to take more time.
Yeah.
I'd rather stop more often and get there quicker.
Yeah, I wonder if that was one of their data-driven decisions where they saw all these new owners going, and they'd stop, and instead of stopping for the however long the car said to stop and continue on to get there with 10%, 20%, they were stopping and then waiting until it got to like 70% when it started to slow down, and then when it slowed down, they actually left.
Well, see, this is what a Tesla.
Just like they removed the lumbar. Data-driven.
Yeah.
If you throw up so many Tesla runs and they'd be like, "Oh, I want to stop at this one. We just passed one 2 hours ago," and you're like, "I gotta go." Okay, quick.
Yeah, so the Tesla restaurants, Tesla Burger, they'll be fun. That might be part of it, but I don't think it is.
And it will fix that closing issue of having that remote charger without nobody being there, because Tesla runs be 24/7. So
I hope they're 24/7. So David brought up a good point about that ship. It does appear that it's local because it's just a Norwegian fertilizer company that runs it.
the Norwegians.
Yeah, meals and overnights are the only exception for me as well. Like, if I'm going to a place that doesn't have a destination charger, but there's a supercharger nearby, I'll either first thing in the morning or last thing at night, I'll top it up on the supercharger, or my preference is to end up at a destination charger hotel or a family, because then I can plug in that way.
So on my trip, this go round, one of the places we stopped in Durham, the hotel didn't have a destination charger, but they were fairly close to the supercharger.
Yeah.
It was a charge up at the supercharger to about 60% or so, and then went to the hotel and talked to the management at the hotel.
I do that all the time.
Okayed it with them, and
Yeah.
I actually plugged into a wall outlet that they had on the outside of the hotel.
Yep.
And so I was able to just trickle charge overnight and have a little bit more in the morning for me to leave with.
Yeah, my favorite is when that outside outlet is like a 20 amp, 30 amp, or 40 amp, 110 or 240. It's like, hey, do you mind? No, I don't mind. Boop, and it's full.
Yeah, that wasn't the case at this one. It was only 12 amps.
Hey, that's better than zero.
But it's better than nothing, right?
Exactly. Cobra told you drove 360 miles to Arizona, and the trips overall was pleasant. The stops, of course, on autopilot. I didn't have the whole mentality of I need to hurry and get there. Yeah, I love that part. It's just that I'm not necessarily rushing to get there, but I'd also rather not be at some of the, like, because Tesla chose all the low rated superchargers for me, like the ones I gave low scores to. Like, here, enjoy these for hours.
You've been to these before. Here, just go stay. Stop
Yeah.
again.
I think that's
Yeah, you know all these. I'm sorry.
I think what Tesla's going to encourage with the autopilot, as more people see the trips and more of those trips reviews get out, just being able to relax. Of course, keep aware, but be able to relax and take a look at the scenery, not be as stressed. Like our friend Drew, going across Texas is a lot easier on autopilot. You can start to look, oh, there's a squirrel. This is this, and do I stop for a squirrel? Will you stop for a squirrel autopilot? And then just being able to have those experiences like you used to do back in the day for Route 66, or at random probably take a train, which would be the worst process because, again, infrastructure. But that's going further in technology to actually take the time to be, sit back and smell the roses for better. it's going to be an interesting thing to see. Actually play what I spy efficiently without passing it too quickly.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
So Robert Williams was asking us about the quad motor Lotus. I didn't see that, but I did see the Rimac, and that was really cool. And so what you see in the background is my wife and dad saying, "Hey, it's time to get on the road." And the alarm was my low blood sugar. So what I'm going to do now is I want to thank everybody for showing up today, and I want to thank everybody for showing up to watch us. And we will catch you on the flip side next week, same time, 1:10 Sunday afternoon Eastern. And thank you.
Hey, hey.